September 1944. Winston Churchill stares at two reports on his desk. One shows Field Marshal Montgomery just lost 10,000 men trying to capture a single bridge and failed. The other shows General Patton captured 12 cities, took 45,000 prisoners, and is knocking on Germany's door. Here's the problem. Churchill gave Montgomery twice the fuel Patton got, twice the resources, absolute priority, and Montgomery delivered a disaster, while Patton delivered victory. What Churchill does next will ignite a political firestorm that nearly destroys the Allied command. This is not just a comparison of numbers. It is a comparison of momentum, of instinct, of leadership under pressure. One general moved like lightning. The other waited for perfection that never came. And Churchill now understands something dangerous. The war is no longer being decided by plans on paper. It is being decided by which man the Germans fear most. September 25, 1944. London, 10 Downing Street, deep beneath the quiet streets of Westminster, inside the reinforced war rooms that had guided Britain through its darkest hours, Winston Churchill stands alone beside a massive wall map of Europe. The colored pins tell the story of liberation. France is free. Paris is safe. Allied armies are advancing toward Germany itself. For the first time in 5 years, victory feels real, but Churchill's attention is fixed on Holland. Operation Market Garden, Field Marshal Bernard Law Montgomery's master plan. A single, decisive thrust across the Netherlands. Airborne divisions dropped deep behind enemy lines. Armored columns racing north to seize the Rhine River. A bold gamble designed to end the war before Christmas. Montgomery had promised success with absolute certainty. He had demanded priority, and Churchill had given it to him. Every gallon of fuel, every available transport, every airborne division he requested. Because if Montgomery succeeded, Britain would lead the final victory. If he failed, Churchill picks up the casualty report again. 10,000 men, gone. An entire airborne division shattered trying to hold a bridge that still remains in German hands. He says nothing, but the silence carries weight. Behind him, his chief of staff, General Hastings Ismay, waits carefully. Churchill finally speaks. How far has Patton advanced? Ismay walks to the map and points south. Third Army captured Nancy 4 days ago. They are continuing east. Churchill studies the position. Patton is not waiting. He is not requesting permission. He is moving. And that difference matters more than anyone had realized. Within minutes, Churchill orders the fuel allocation reports brought to him. When they arrive, the truth becomes undeniable. Montgomery had received absolute priority. 1,400 tons of fuel per day. The largest airborne operation in military history. Complete logistical support. And in 9 days, he had failed to capture his objective. Meanwhile, 200 miles south, Patton had received half that amount. 700 tons per day. No airborne divisions, no priority, no guarantees. Yet in those same 9 days, Patton's Third Army had captured 12 cities. They had crossed major rivers under fire. They had advanced 60 miles. They had taken 45,000 German prisoners. Entire enemy formations collapsing before them. Churchill reads the numbers again. He is not confused. He is furious, because this is not just a tactical contrast. It is a leadership contrast. Montgomery had been given certainty and delivered delay. Patton had been given scarcity and delivered momentum. Churchill walks slowly to the map. He traces the northern advance, then the southern one. Montgomery's advance stops at the Rhine. Patton's advance points directly into Germany itself. Churchill understands something now that few others do. War does not reward caution. It rewards pressure. It rewards disruption. It rewards the commander who forces the enemy to react instead of waiting to react himself. Patton is forcing Germany to react. Montgomery is waiting for Germany to collapse, and Germany is not collapsing. It is resisting. That afternoon, Churchill calls Eisenhower. The Supreme Commander answers from Versailles. Churchill does not waste time. "Explain to me," he says calmly, "why the general with half the fuel is winning the war while the general with all of it is losing men." There is a pause. Eisenhower chooses his words carefully. Market Garden was a calculated risk. Churchill interrupts, "So is war." Silence follows because both men understand the truth behind the conversation. This is not about fuel. This is about fear. The Germans fear Patton. They do not fear Montgomery in the same way. German intelligence reports already show it. Panzer reserves are being positioned against Patton's axis of advance, not Montgomery's, because Montgomery announces his intentions. Patton creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is far more dangerous. Churchill ends the call with a decision already forming. He will see both fronts himself. He will see the difference with his own eyes, because something fundamental has shifted. The balance of momentum inside the Allied command is changing, and once Churchill confirms it, the political consequences will be impossible to stop. Patton is not just advancing. He is redefining what victory looks like, and that makes him both the Allies' greatest weapon and their greatest political problem. October 2nd, 1944, France. Churchill's aircraft lands on a temporary military airstrip carved out of liberated territory. The smell of fuel, mud, and burned metal hangs in the air. War is no longer a map here. It is physical. It is loud. It is real. He visits Montgomery's sector first. The landscape still carries the scars of Market Garden. Destroyed gliders lie broken across open fields. Burned armored vehicles sit abandoned along narrow Dutch roads. Temporary graves stretch in rows marked with rifles and helmets. 10,000 men had come here believing they would help end the war. They never made it home. Montgomery meets Churchill beside a command vehicle. His uniform is immaculate, his posture rigid, his tone calm and controlled. He explains the failure carefully. Weather complications, unexpected German resistance, intelligence gaps. Everything had been reasonable. Everything had been logical. Everything had been planned. Churchill listens in silence because the battlefield tells a different story. The bridge at Arnhem still stands in German hands. The objective Montgomery promised to capture remains untouched. No amount of explanation changes that. No amount of planning replaces results. Churchill leaves without offering reassurance. The next morning he travels south, to Patton. The contrast is immediate. There is no pause here, no stillness, no waiting. Engines roar constantly. Supply trucks move without stopping. Armored columns push forward in endless motion. Everything is advancing. Everything is alive. George S. Patton meets Churchill beside a forward command vehicle. His helmet is dusty, his boots worn, his eyes alert and focused on what comes next, not what has already happened. Churchill asks a simple question. "How far will you go?" Patton answers without hesitation. "As far as they'll let me." Not how far he's ordered, not how far is safe, how far he can push the enemy before they can recover. That difference defines everything. Patton does not wait for perfect conditions. He creates opportunity by refusing to slow down. German prisoners confirm it during interrogation. They are not surprised by Montgomery's movements. They are terrified of Patton's because Montgomery prepares. Patton strikes because Montgomery waits for certainty. Patton creates chaos, and chaos is impossible to defend against. By November, German defensive planning reflects that fear. Panzer divisions remain positioned to counter Patton. Reserves that could strengthen other sectors stay frozen in place, waiting, watching, preparing for attacks that could come at any moment. Patton has forced Germany into a permanent defensive posture, not through superior resources, but through superior momentum. Then December 1944, Germany launches its final gamble, the Ardennes offensive, the Battle of the Bulge. German armor smashes through Allied lines, driving deep into Belgium. American units are surrounded. Entire divisions risk destruction. The situation is critical. Eisenhower calls an emergency meeting. Senior commanders gather around the map. The German breakthrough is massive, fast, dangerous. The question is simple: who can respond fast enough? Montgomery recommends caution, preparation, time to organize a deliberate counteroffensive. It is logical, it is careful, it is safe. Then Eisenhower turns to Patton. George, how soon can you attack? Patton does not ask for time. He does not ask for resources. He does not ask for guarantees. He answers immediately: 48 hours. The room goes silent. It should be impossible. His army faces the opposite direction. His supply lines are stretched. Winter conditions make movement slow and dangerous. But Patton has already anticipated this possibility. His staff had contingency plans ready. His army begins moving immediately. No hesitation, no delay. Entire divisions pivot north through snow, ice, and darkness. Tanks grind forward through frozen roads. Supply convoys push without stopping. The maneuver shocks German command. They expected delay. They expected preparation. They expected Montgomery. They did not expect Patton. Within days, Patton's forces crash into the German flank. The pressure is immediate, relentless, disruptive. German momentum collapses. Their offensive stalls. Their final gamble fails. The initiative is lost. Forever. From that moment forward, the outcome of the war is no longer in doubt. German resistance weakens steadily. Allied forces advance across the Rhine. Defensive lines collapse faster than they can be rebuilt. And at the center of it all, Patton keeps moving, always moving. By May 1945, Germany surrenders. Patton's Third Army stands deeper inside German territory than anyone had predicted months earlier. He had advanced farther, faster, with less. Not because he had been given more, but because he had forced the enemy to break under pressure they could never fully predict. Churchill reflects on it privately later. War is not won by giving resources to the safest commander. It is won by trusting the commander who forces the enemy to fear what happens next. Montgomery had demanded priority. Patton had demanded opportunity. One waited for victory to arrive. The other chased it until the enemy could no longer escape. And in the end, Churchill understood the truth that changed everything. The war was not decided by fuel, not by supply, not by planning. It was decided by momentum, by aggression, by the one general Germany feared most, George S. Patton, because in war, hesitation preserves armies, but speed destroys them. And Patton never stopped moving.